What's up, everybody? Today was Jeff and Eric from It's The Real, at It's The Real on everything. If you don't know who It's The Real is and you listen to hip hop, just go and check it out because their catalog is super crazy. These guys are hip hop sketch comedians, journalists. They've written for everybody from The Source, Fader, XXL, like you name it. They're podcasters, super early in the podcaster game, over 300 episodes with everyone from Rick Ross, Young Jeezy, Birdman, Charlamagne the God, Joe Budden. I could just name drop 100,000 names because that's how deep they are in the hip hop industry. They're two white guys that are like so respected in the hip hop community that take an angle of comedy and lightheartedness and yet pay homage to the culture as a whole. All I'm trying to say in that is that the industry thanks them and respects them. And they've actually been the blueprint for us over at Self Hired a little bit in terms of consistency and quality no matter what, and just having a different angle and caring in these different sorts of things. So huge influences to myself and the whole team. So it was amazing to have them on live from their apartment in New York, where they host all these guys. So just an amazing conversation for me. We kept it lighthearted. We talked about the industry and like we talked about a ton of things. I'm just going to let you guys get into the episode. And thank you, Jeff, Eric. You guys are the man. Appreciate you guys. Guys, what's up? Welcome back. Here today, I got two hip-hop historians. I guess that's the best title for you guys, that have a incredible backlog of both interviews as well as being interviewed. I could probably recite your story back to you roughly at this point. And you know, for everyone that's tuned in, if you guys want to go check that story out, go check that story out. Like, you guys have interviews on like Breakfast Club and Hot 97 and No Jumper and Mass Appeal and da-da-da and da-da-da. But I just wanted to use today to bounce a couple things off with you guys, have some fun, dig into some stories or whatever. Anyways, I have Jeff and Eric from It's The Real on the line. How are you guys doing?
What up? We're doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I wanted, just loved seeing the blueprint, and I figured we're all quarantined inside. Why don't we just give you guys a call and make it happen?
Yeah, much appreciated.
What are your favorite AKAs? Because I was thinking about your, like for me, your AKAs would be like AKA Reddit Warriors, AKA Rosenthal Reporters, AKA Purchase Street Sweepers, AKA, and this is my favorite, the New York Nardwars. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, that means a lot coming from someone from Vancouver.
Yeah, some of my favorites. It's weird because context changes when you have like a global pandemic. So I had a great one. I had a great one called Yo, what up? It's Eric, aka the baggage handler, aka Catch a Case. Ooh. And it's like, now, it's funny in one respect, and now it's just like, oh, catch a case, like
of Corona.
Get sick. Right. Yeah, not great.
I thought you were gonna do the Petri dish one.
Petri dish, aka for the culture. That's a pretty good one. I had one where it was like, yo, what up? It's Eric, aka Indiana Jones, aka aka Whippin' Farins, aka Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
fire.
I would give me a little head, aka Zika virus.
Again, pandemic sort of.
Player of the year, aka Uchiwali Zerbiak.
Oh,
Uchiwali Zerbiak.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what else.
There's so many of them, and it's just, we did a t-shirt probably like, I don't know how many episodes in, but it was just like, that was a lot. And then people were like, you got to do another one.
Because we switch it up every single interview. So it's just like,
yeah, we've never repeated an AKA. So that's
crazy. So how do you come up with the AKAs? Because like for a normal, like, for us on our podcast, we've been like we've been almost 70 episodes deep. I could do an AKA every one and I'd still have ideas. You guys are like 300 plus. So how are you still coming up with your AKAs?
Even more than that,
because we've been going since 2009
or
so.
something like that.
August 20th, right?
This has been
if I'm right.
Well, yeah. But the AKAs started in like 2008, 2009, something like that.
When we started doing interviews for MTV.
Yeah, evolved. And so, we've tried to make it so that like it's fun for us, it's fun for the guest who's like always surprised, and it's fun for the listeners out there who are like, you know what? I don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. Let me get something new this time. So how do we come up with them?
It really depends. Like sometimes you'll just be like walking down the street and you'll see something and it'll just like pop into your head and you're just like, oh, like I should remember that and I'll write it down. Or it's just like 2 minutes before an interview, you're just like,
what do I do?
Yeah. And so like, that's happened like dozens of times.
But we surely have our own style, and we try to keep it on a certain level. You want it to be like very smart and heady and esoteric
But like a lot of people don't know that Eric and I don't tell each other our AKAs before.
So the reactions are real.
Yeah, so the reactions are like all real. I don't really hear Eric's in the moment just because I have to like concentrate so much on remembering mine.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to. Eric does his, then I screw it up, and then the guest is just sitting there.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Like, it's interesting because as a lot of people know, we have the guests come over to our apartment and we sit down at this table and we have this hour and a half conversation. And you want that energy to be like crazy at the beginning so that the person, whether they know you or they don't know you, is excited to be in the moment. And, for us, it's like the AKAs might not even matter, like, again, to Jeff while I'm doing it, or to the guest, you might just hear yelling or something like that. But in the end, when people revisit these episodes, it's something that, like, there's another level to it, and they can get something from that second or third or fourth listen.
It's interesting, like, as a viewer, when I first checked you guys out, I was watching these interviews and these guys come over to your apartment and just listening to it at the time, and it was like, for me, it was validation that you guys had the audacity. You know what I'm saying? Because when you initially come in, if I don't know you guys, I'm like, who are these white Jewish guys? And this is about to be crazy. What is Rick Ross doing here?
Yeah.
And then he comes in, you sit down, and then you got the gunshots popping off in the AKAs. And like now as a listener, I'm not worried. I'm like, this is going to be hilarious regardless of what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we still get that a lot, by the way, because people are now finding us on YouTube because videos just travel further than you can even expect, and people see us for the first time, and they have these expectations, and that's been the case, again, our whole career for like 13 years,
for sure.
To the point where if people see a picture of us, they may judge us in a certain way, but if they press play and they hear it and they see it and they understand how comfortable we are with the people who we know or don't know, and the conversation is a gem every time, then people are like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, I remember Tax Stone said to us, maybe like 5 years ago, we were at one of his shows, and Tax Stone said, what I really like appreciate about you guys is that you don't switch up in any room.
Right.
But like you guys are always you.
Yes.
And so, I don't think that there's like any sort of real put on when people come over. It's just like, no, like this is how we have fun, like regardless of who's in the room, whether it's literally, like Jeezy or Kevin Gates or our mom.
Yeah, we did it with our mom for the 250th episode. So
yeah,
still the
super
same.
fire. Yeah. And not only that, like you guys did, you guys were in, I don't know where you guys were, but you were interviewing Nipsey Hussle doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Back a while ago. And I'm just looking at Nip's reactions, and I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna go, because you guys weren't at the level you're at now. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's funny. We weren't like super close with him, I wouldn't say.
Right.
And he wouldn't have said, but like we did meet up with him in different cities, and like we were always cool.
In Atlanta, in New York, in LA, and that interview that we did at Summer Jam that you're talking about for Miss Info, that was coordinated through our friend Karen Civil, who was very close to Nipsey. And it's a lot of that, right? Relationships are everything. And the way you get to someone is through a friend or through your work, right? So Karen, who we had known for a long time, respected us, loved our work, and was like, cool, I see the vision and I can connect you guys and make it happen.
Wow, crazy. Yeah, just that respect in the game is absolutely wild. But I mean, that's still what actually fosters that is, like, again, you guys are the same in every room. So like when I'm watching, I love that you guys have video, by the way. Now that's huge. Thanks, that's huge.
Man. Yeah.
Shout out to that. So like when I watch the video of like Ricky Rose, the biggest boss, come into your apartment and he's dapping everybody up by him, like, and I'm saying solo. And it's just like, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes a little bit and be like, yo, what are you guys thinking at that point? What is the vibe in the room? Or are you just so much like, nah, we've done this with a trillion stars? Because to me, and I know you guys we're all hip hop heads here, it's like, yo, that's every day I'm hustling Rick Ross. Like who the fuck you fucking with? I'm the fucking boss or whatever, right? Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what's that vibe?
I think there's two things. One is ahead of time, it's like, I personally try not to think of like the bigger context,
right?
Of like, oh, this is Rick Ross. This is what he means to me over the last 10 years. There's certain things you want to get right and you think about and you want to include in that conversation. But you just honestly, for that, it's like, want to make sure he's there on time. Want to make sure that like, the bottles are here because we wanted to make that a thing where we had Bel Air Rosé stocked in the fridge and sitting behind him. You want to make sure that like the camera team's right. You want to make sure that like all the audio is working correctly, that the temperature's right in the room,
that
all
the
that
bathroom
stuff.
is clean.
Yeah.
That like, there's a lot of like work that goes into all that. I will say before Eric goes into, more points, I do get nervous. I get nervous like 60% of the time.
60,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
But also afterwards, when you think about it and we do an intro or an outro and you get to say, okay, this is the context for everybody, this is a huge moment for us to have this guy who has meant so much to us and to the hip hop community and to the world over to our apartment for an hour and a half to talk about anything, and would have stayed longer if he didn't have to promote something at, whatever it was, 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight or whatever it was. That's when you really like, oh, this was way bigger than I even considered.
Yeah.
So did you guys, that was one of my questions that I was just going to throw to the side, but you guys brought it up where you're like, did you guys go out and buy that Bel Air Rosé?
Oh no.
Okay.
We had Bel Air like send it to us, but like that was, again, we've known the girl who works at Bel Air from two different jobs.
Yeah, and she
before that, and so like we've kept up relationships with people, and they were like, well, this is going to be a moment, like we should send over some bottles, and
but here's the bigger thing, right? Like you can tell who's living this and is about this whole culture and who's not, and I think that like we want to get those bottles of Bel Air over here as a statement to Rick Ross and
to show that like, we know, like it isn't just like, oh, it's Rick Ross and, that's a name and we don't have any connection to that.
Right.
It's like, no, we have
respect.
a very deep connection to you and
appreciation.
Yeah.
And I think then when he sees that and, he gets more comfortable in, a setting where it's like, yeah, we've crossed paths throughout the years, but to sit down,
light flex.
revealing, to have a very revealing conversation is a whole different thing. Like,
I think it also matters to like, see all the pictures that we have on the wall and to like, you walk in and you understand who we are.
But again, that's not done for show. That is done because we love these pictures. You know what I'm saying?
But it does have that like added effect of,
totally.
People walk in, they see the picture of us in Khaled, and they see like, the picture that you wanted by Cleopatra McBride of
all these things,
Jay and Kanye, and
Dude,
all this stuff.
meaningful.
It comes together and it all matters.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's like that was the biggest point for me, just sitting down with you guys, is just being like, nah, you guys are actually part of our fabric, and you don't even know it, right? And
that's pretty wild.
No, it's super is, it's wild.
It's crazy to me because again, you live it. You don't know exactly what a video you do 10 years ago will matter in the future. You don't know what an interview 5 years ago will matter. And we have a lot of people come up to us and just like, your Mac Miller interview meant the world to me. Your video that you did with Travis Scott all those years ago meant a lot to me. Or like Deconstructing Biggie, the first video we ever did, meant a lot to me. And we've been in meetings where people watch those videos and can recite them word for word
10 years later,
and we're just like,
wild.
And all we're doing is just doing something that pleases us and makes us feel good. And it's just crazy to think.
It's such a crazy dynamic, and you're enabled by the world that we live in now in like 2020, and like even just, the boom of the internet is crazy because, again, growing up pre that, everything was so far away, and now everything's so close. It's crazy. I don't mean to get super off track, but like you guys really do, like you have really quote unquote made it and been interviewed, like the level of respect in the game is crazy. And I'm wondering if that actually transfers over to the females now, because I know that, I was wondering if bitches actually talk to you now, or if they're still just sending you emails.
Now not so much during quarantine era, just for the record, we don't have
So we're back to
anybody come
emails.
over.
That's not true. I've had girls who want to go to Whole Foods with me and do
damn.
a respectful distance of 6 feet. But
But-
I think that we both do fine. It's New York City. I think anybody can do okay.
Yo, you guys should double down on that. Like, I just think from like a comedy standpoint, like that shit is hilarious. Like, I was in 2013, like Peter Rosenberg was like, yo, like, how do you do with the ladies? And you're like, we do all right. Like, I got the hair and shit, whatever. And then in 2017, Angela Yee was like, yo, so like you guys are around all these hip hop groupies, like, do you get pussy thrown at you? And you were like, kinda. And I'm just wondering, like, fast forward 2020.
I think I said yes. I think I was like, yeah.
But it was a
down to
humble though.
Bonnaroo.
You weren't like, oh yeah, for sure. You know, you were like, yeah,
Well,
I'll keep it on the down
Again,
low.
we act the same in every room.
So here's the weird thing about like 2020, just in general, is that you have to find that balance between how much can you be humble and how much do you have to be out there pushing yourself or your brand. And it's like, I don't know what the right answer is. Jeff doesn't know what the right answer is. We talk about this quite a lot, honestly, because sometimes we just feel differently about the subject. And and so it's like, there's no perfect way to go about this. Some people can brag, some people can be humble, and both are respected. So who knows?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but I think you guys, because of how you position yourself, like I still view you guys as hip hop sketch comedians in a weird way that have just used these like other mediums to do what you do. So you kind of have that excuse in a way.
We're storytellers, you know?
Yeah.
I think that across the board, all we do is tell stories. If that's in our music, if that's in our podcast, and honestly, if that's in like the podcast, like A Waste of Time with It's The Real, we're telling stories. If that's Two Jews and Two Black Dudes review the movies, that's telling stories. If it's quarantine radio, it's telling stories.
Right.
And, we just try to do stuff that lasts. And I think we're doing a pretty good job.
You guys are doing a great job. Speaking of telling stories, you've told a story about how when you were trying to get into Don C and you were out chopping up with Consequence, and Consequence was like, yo, buy 2 of my mixtapes, I'll introduce you. Which, by the way, fire tactic. Shout out to that $20.
Smart guy.
Right?
Yeah,
Sign him
absolutely.
too. And for those that don't know, like Don C was Kanye's manager at the time.
Yep.
Right,
He was one of them. I was actually trying to meet John Monopoly, and he was not there.
Right.
Don C was there, and Consequence connected me with him. Yeah, it was
This is like 2003
or 4, something like that.
Which is super, super wild. So you guys were what, 20 something?
Yeah, and to who was I? Like honestly, who was I? I was a college graduate with a Canon XL2 camera,
right,
and just a lot of ambition and drive and focus. And I think that's what they appreciated, because I would chase them down, whenever I had a chance, whenever they were in the city, whenever
I mean, you had driven 2.5 hours down to New Jersey just to, go to that concert.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I had to get in with them because they were just my heroes, and like any way possible, I was going to work with them.
See, that's super crazy, because like bring that full circle. So like I'm 23 now talking to you guys over this. And, we got a Sony something camera right here. Kev's in my apartment during a quarantine. And how I got to you guys was exactly, I was listening to that interview. I think it was episode 200.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, just being a fan. I'm like, man, I gotta get these guys fucking on somehow. And I was like, oh man, I'll hit him up over DM. And I was like, oh, that's not going to work. I'll hit him up over these other things. Email, oh, that's not going to work. And I was like, oh man, what if I just go and fucking support them? So again, got through to the Patreon. I'm like, yo, fuck yeah, I'll give these guys
That's
money.
love. Thank you very much.
And no problem. And then I was like, oh, that's right. There's a direct message on here. Yo, what's up? Right. And taking the backdoor entry, right? Like, I don't know. Have you guys ever read or heard of, there's a book called The Third Door?
No.
So
I know Three Doors Down, which is a band. They have a song called Kryptonite that everybody should be streaming during quarantine.
That's most definitely. There's this book called, or this concept called like The Third Door, which is essentially like there's the first door. The first door is essentially just like classic. I went to college, I got a job, now I'm an accountant, and now I'm here, whatever. There's the second door, which is like, oh, my dad was golf buddies. I got into trust funds. I'm a trust fund kid. I got into private school, and now I know the VP of X bank. And then there's the third door, right? So door 1 and 2 are kind of like paying the doorman, or just like waiting in the line like everyone else. And the third door is like going around the back alley, on top of the dumpster, through the window, go into the kitchen. Kitchen's actually locked, pick the lock, and then you get in somehow, right? And that's what you guys have taken.
I feel like I'm always inspired by Roc-A-Fella Records, which they got rejected by every single record label when Jay-Z was trying to get signed. They got rejected everywhere. And so they didn't go through any more buildings. They built their own. Yeah. And I think that's what we've tried to do.
And honestly, like in college, I learned that in a class. I was just like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go through the gatekeepers. I'm going to email right to the top, to the CEO, to the president, like get my message across, figure out the best way to put me in front of them. Fire. And that whole message, translated to both of my brothers, and they did it in their ways. And then when we started doing our thing, it was not like, oh, okay, you have to go through this store and you have to go through this store and you have to go through this store. It was like, no, we're going to do it our own way and treat it as seriously and professionally as possible. And it's funny when you mention like going around the back way, jumping on the dumpster, breaking into a window, sneaking around it, because that was part of the first, that whole scene that you just described was part of the cold open that we had written for our TV show that we sold to MTV. And it's funny, like, to consider, again, context, right?
Crazy.
Like, because it was part of like this whole New York City club thing that we had to get into. But like, that really does sum up our career, where it's like, cool. Before us, there was a way to do things where you have to, earn your stripes this way. And everybody has this history of doing it this one way. And it was like, no, we're gonna do it our way, and we're gonna make it work.
By the way, just like totally, going left with it, but I feel like the home invasion economy is just like tanking during the quarantine. I feel like it's not a good time to be a home invader.
Well, yeah.
Most definitely not. And if you're gonna just tell you what, anyone that's out here being like a fuck boy, a fuck girl, listen, just stop. You're playing yourself right now. Come on.
Absolutely.
That's our entire audience. What are you doing?
Yo, it's like, come on, if you were really out there trying to get pussy or whatever it is during COVID-19, like, come on, bro, like, what are you doing? It's not worth the risk.
We had a guest on today's episode, Mandy B from the Horrible Decisions podcast. Okay. And this, in retrospect, is a horrible decision. She was talking about flying people out from like Texas up here.
Oh, come on.
Just to get some. And it was like, not now. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's probably not worth it.
Don't do it.
Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Maybe it is. Yo, come on now.
Yeah. That was one of my questions to her, and she answered honestly. She said, honestly, yes, it would be worth it for him. So I was like, all right.
I would die for this.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like if they don't already have it, they're going to contract it on the plane, and then they definitely got it by the time they touch down.
It's all bad news. Yeah.
It is all bad news. So you guys have like used this third door theory or whatever, just like your own way and staying true and authentic to yourselves and always finding a way somehow through some crevasse somewhere. I'm interested now, how does that work for you now in 2020 where you guys are established, respected amongst the entire community that you're in? Everyone from like Birdman to Charlemagne the God, you name it. So how are you using those tactics and those skills that you kind of honed for those past 10 years now?
This is an interesting thing that you bring up, because a lot of people think when you make it to a certain level, whatever level that is, that your problems stop or your issues stop or that the gatekeepers stop. And that's not always the case. I think for us in particular, we have found that like, okay, yeah, we're seen as successful in certain people's eyes, but then other people have no idea who we are. Or we'll go kill it in a meeting and, we'll sell something and it won't work for one reason or another. So it's always about leveling up and getting to a place where you can really, I guess, get more comfortable, but you're never going to be entirely just like set. For us, it's like, okay, cool. We've grown to a certain place, but we want more people to hear our product, and we want to, deal with bigger companies. We want to have a bigger platform and be more successful and be more whatever. And you work towards that. And maybe Hollywood isn't doing it, and that's not the challenge. The challenge is to figure out who outside of Hollywood can really help elevate our whole platform, and that's what we're really focusing on now. Now, Now the landscape is changing. Like, if you think that people are going to be around each other a lot, you're probably mistaken. If you think that people are going to be outside of their homes for the next 6 months or so in a normal sense, you're probably mistaken. So for us, we try to, see as far down the road as we can, think about the chess pieces and move accordingly. And so I don't know, for the last decade, we've been doing a pretty good job being a one-stop shop. And here we are proving that, you can pivot, you can do things quickly, and you can create product from your home between the two of us that's dope and will last. And I think we'll see the fruits of our labor hopefully soon enough.
Oh, man, for sure. And that's one of the things when I initially discovered you guys was I was just like, how is this possible? Like, these guys are like, we did someone yesterday who's like 6 million on socials and stuff, and I'm like, yo, we're gonna talk to It's The Real tomorrow, and I'm super fucking excited about it, and they have 1/100th of the social following.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how? Like, that's what it's like it, and it's like, so now, and so a lot of people feel like that too, and so do we, but it's like, you can't force something. I think that like our best stuff has always moved, naturally. Here's something. We did this monumental thing back in 2017, which you did.
that we worked really hard to get 10 pillars of Roc-A-Fella Records on one stage and record that and make it something that will last, right? So we put the video up on YouTube in 2017, like a month after we actually did it. Full recording, full episode, looks amazing, sounds amazing, felt amazing.
Yeah. After people were just like, where's the video? Where's the video? Where's the video? We finally put out the video. And
over the course of 3 years, it worked its way up to 11,000 plays.
Crazy.
Now, I don't know why. There's no reason why that people, wouldn't watch it or whatever. We didn't put the right hashtags, or we didn't. Who knows what? It just didn't naturally take.
But then, for whatever reason, we re-uploaded it right when the quarantine.
Well, it's because YouTube flagged it for certain music that was played in there. So we had to cut those out, re-upload it.
But anyway, so we
and you're like, yo, I'll call
it.
Biggs right now and make sure it's cleared.
Yeah.
And so we re-uploaded it, and now it's up to like 65,000 in like a week and a half.
So it's like some things just the timing has to be right, or sometimes it just has to take a little luck, or whatever. And we have a bigger audience now. It's getting bigger every day on YouTube, and I think that hopefully more people will find us, or in the meantime, people will still hit us and just be like, why don't you have more subscribers? Or like, how did these guys get Birdman to come over? Or whatever it is,
No,
yeah, I like it when people think that we've like tricked rappers into coming to our apartment. Like it was just like, it was all a big like game.
Yeah.
And then like suddenly they're just here and they're just like have to sit through an hour and a half of our dumb questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys can like sit there and be cool and humble and all that type of stuff. I'm going to be on the other side and be pissed. So, but,
okay. Wait, what? You are Canadian.
Oh,
like, how are you?
What,
you're going like totally
to
against the stereotype of like what a Canadian's supposed to be.
Yo, I mean, listen, we ride super hard for things that we think that should be hot. That's it.
And we appreciate that. Yeah.
That's it. So, speaking of people coming into your apartment, like I wanted to ask you guys, what's the wildest reaction you've had from someone like walking in the door and being like, "Oh, this is what we doing."
I mean, the Migos.
Oh God,
probably.
That was a weird thing. That was in our old apartment. So at that time too, again, it's a different landscape. So they didn't know what a podcast was. They didn't know they had to sit down and talk to us for an hour. They didn't know there'd be food on the table. They didn't know why they would be in our apartment. There was a lot of stuff going on. But I think overall, you want to know what the craziest one was? This. So we love the whole Bad Boy Records era, right?
Yes.
And we're very close with the Locks.
Yeah. This is a good story. Okay.
Puff is a hero. There's a lot of like cool like elements in the Bad Boy history, and Black Rob is a pillar, and we always wanted to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. So I got a phone call. This is Thanksgiving Day. And we were down with our family in the Poconos, which is in the woods of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And so I get this phone call, and it's this guy it was from a number I didn't have on my phone. And this guy says, hey, it was really great meeting you at this concert last week, the Masters of Ceremony concert in Brooklyn. And that was with like Fat Joe and a whole bunch of like all like hip hop legends. And he's like, it was so great meeting you. I work with these artists. I have these studios. I would love to get some of my artists on your platforms or whatever. Like, just do something together. And I was like, cool. Only thing, I wasn't at that show. But I do want to get Black Rob on our podcast. And so he said we would talk a week later when it was not Thanksgiving. I said, great. And so we reconnected. He said, tell me more about the podcast. I did. And anyway, we arranged that Black Rob would come over on Thursday at 3:00. And so at Thursday at 3:00, we're like waiting for him to come over. I texted the manager. I said, hey, is Black Rob coming? He said, yes. I said, are you with him? He said, no. I said, cool. And then at like 4:15, Black Rob shows up.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't necessarily him at the door. We open up the door, and it's someone else. And he says his name is Rob, and we're like, okay, so it's like other Rob, got it. And then behind him
was Black Rob.
With the big leather fitted, with the big leather jacket. And so first Rob, other Rob, is like, what is this, an interview? And like looking at the table with the microphones, and we're like, yep, mm-hmm, yeah. And he goes, where's Jadakiss? And we're like,
oh my God.
Yeah, maybe like
Hartford,
Connecticut,
I think.
you know?
Yeah, not here.
And so he turns around to Black Rob, who has still not entered the apartment, and he says, what do you want to do? And Black Rob says, I'm about my business. And the two of them just leave.
They got in the elevator and left our lives forever. And we were just like, I'm not really sure what happened, but they were the most surprised at seeing whatever it was happening on that kitchen table.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Super weird. Super weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep it real. What was your reaction? Like, what were the feelings going through your head like 5 minutes or a minute after he shut that door?
We were like,
well, I texted the manager. I said, I ran down the whole thing of what had happened, and the manager just goes, weird.
I think we were just like, what the hell? Like that just doesn't happen. Like, what is this? Like,
but also that he thought that Jadakiss lived with us, or like that it was there. Like, what business did Black Rob and Jadakiss have from like 1998 that like needed to be hashed out? Like,
so we did.
There's a lot of
we did hit up Jadakiss, and we're just like, yo, and he's like, I don't know, man, Black Rob's crazy, and we're like, all right, yeah, sure,
fair enough. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Craziness. So another way you guys have like kind of built through all this, you know, past the OGs and all that type of stuff, like you guys have also taken some bets on some early artists that like, frankly, I don't know, you guys seem to have this intuition about artists to like have them on very early on in their career and just like get the cosign in a way. Like, how do you guys pick and choose? Because there are 100 million rappers in the world.
Yeah, I think that we've had like some good bets. I think that we've had some bets that, you know, you could argue that, you know, you don't remember.
No
some
names.
of these names.
It's cool.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, it's just like, it's a fact that there are people on our podcast who have had interesting stories, but may not have had like the star power that certain people have had. But like Lil Uzi Vert, we were one of his first interviews. Travis Scott, we were his first interview.
Cardi B, Lizzo,
Meg The Stallion,
Tierra Whack. We've had
Tierra Whack. We were her actual first.
Guap Dad 4000. I mean, there was a lot of artists who we felt had good personality and could sit down and talk with us for an hour, and a lot of young artists cannot. So we turn those artists down. We're like, this doesn't do us any favors to have someone who's going to come on and sit there silently. Like, just, it won't work for us. It won't work for the artist, and it definitely won't work for the audience. So
yeah, but there have also been people who, again, like, you know, you invite them over and you're excited about them. Certain episodes have gotten killed because like we just didn't put them out because we weren't happy with the episodes. But I think that like I think we've had like good taste, and hopefully, you know, our taste is a lot like other people's.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it totally is. And that's the other thing when we talk about like popularity and all that, because I was listening to you guys on the Brilliant Idiots with Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz, and they were talking about like, oh, like you're white guys with a black demographic, so that doesn't really work. And I'm like, not really. Like, how many, like you have 3 white guys that are all hip hop heads. Kevin's half Chinese, but we'll call him white. And we're all like super, super hip hop heads. And I'm like, there's a huge demographic of people just like us that actually really care and are historians of it, i.e. Nardwuar. So I'm like, yo, this target demographic is fire.
Well, you also grew up at a different time than like we did, right?
So
true. Like we when we were growing up, it was like a little bit different for like white kids to like black things.
Yes.
You know, I think that like, you know, you sort of got like labeled a certain way for that, and people would be like, I don't understand why, whatever. But like kids now, it's just like hip hop is the most dominant art form that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And for us too, I think that we do have an understanding of the work that we put in, but also the work that others have put in before us. So we never wanted to denigrate anything that had been done before. We just wanted to build upon in a respectful manner. And I think that we're 13 years into that and still going.
Yeah, I definitely get it. I think, so I come from a super, super small island called Hornby Island, which is like 900 people. Everyone listens to like reggae or like bluegrass. And I stole my sister's like Dr. Dre, craziness. It's everyone's like
it's those two things. It's either reggae or bluegrass.
Dude, it's
love it.
Well, listen, next time you guys are here, I'll take you out there. The beaches are beautiful, all right? Yeah. And it's just like I stole my sister's like Dr. Dre, The Chronic 2001 when I was a baby, and I was just like I was gone.
Crazy.
Right? I was sent to that, but everyone around was always like super on that. Again, just like classic white or just like super Bob Marley and the Wailers. And up here in Canada, we're like 10 years behind, right, in terms of like adoption of that. And obviously because rap is now
even with the internet.
Yeah, see, now it's sped up a lot. Like in the last 5 years specifically, it was like that. It was like that. Yeah. Like even when I was in high school, like it was like, why are you listening to hip hop? Right? Like you're white, stop it. And I play basketball and all that type of stuff too. So it was like, what are you doing?
But now everybody on and I mean like, and I'm going to sound so unbelievably old, but like everybody on TikTok is dancing to hip hop songs. Like and every pop song is influenced by hip hop rhythm. So I mean like it's just like it's a very weird time. Like it's not like when we were growing up. Like, you know, Dipset was not like on TRL, you know. Yeah.
So did you guys, and I'm getting super off track here, but when there was like a moment, I don't know when it was, but like hip hop became pop. Like hip hop became pop. It became the most popular music, right? Yeah. And it was no longer that kind of like underground, original New York, the Bronx type of thing. How did you guys feel about that moment? Were you guys on the camp of like, hey, you know, this is great, the music's being accepted? Or you guys were in the camp of being like, oh man, this was kind of like our thing and all this type of stuff? Like, how did you guys feel about that?
Well, yeah, so Jeff may be old, but I'm definitely not that old.
Yeah, Eric's only 21.
Because when I felt that shift, it was like it was more exciting for me because I loved it so much. And with everything, it's like I'm not afraid to share it. I think that like I may do it better than other people and I may love it more than other people, but it doesn't mean that they can't love it as well, you know? So so we're not in that, like there are people out there who are like, listen, I'm only going to listen to a certain type of like rap and a certain type of like era, and it's just about boom bap, and it's just about backpack stuff, and it's just about raucous records and whatever, and like I can't get with Bad Boy stuff, I can't get with Roc-A-Fella stuff, I definitely can't get into any of these rappers singing. It's like, no man, it's all a part of this thing, it's evolving, and it's pretty exciting. So I think we've always been excited about where hip-hop has gone. Well, for the most part. Again, there are fringes where it's just like, that's bad for the culture, they're not doing right by the culture, and it's like, let's try to generally...
I think there are things that we like and there are things we don't like, but as a whole, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, like... we really should not be as a whole going certain places. Just like I don't.
Yeah, no,
you can't take ownership of it. Yeah,
I mean, and that's like for me that moment. What pops into my head when you guys say that is like when Russ was talking about like, yo, why are you making it cool to do drugs? Like that's not that's why are we doing this, right? And like moments like that where it's like, okay, maybe that's a little bit of a left turn, and maybe that's shouldn't what we can be, not what we're about. But what's cool about that process is it's actually democratized now. Right, like it's not a gatekeeper. It's not someone being like, okay, this is what it is. It's a collective, which is really, really cool. Collective minds. Really cool.
I think generally there's excitement around anybody who does it in a different way.
Which is why I think there should be way more excitement about you guys. Anyways, Kel, I'm done now. Yo, guys, like I know you're like there's actually what, a year difference between you guys, couple years, 4 years difference, 3.5,
yeah,
3.5. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's the dynamic like? Actually, keep it real with me. Like you guys have been doing this together for forever. You guys are always in the same space together. Like I got 2 questions, like one for Eric about Jeff and one for Jeff about Eric. Like Jeff, I'll start with you. Like what is it about Eric and how has your dynamic changed? Like what is it actually like? And please give me the answer as if I was just hollering at you.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. What's the actual question?
The question. No, fair enough. I was trying to leave that open ended. I mean, like from your perspective, how do you think that you complement each other? How have you grown? How do you guys have what I'm trying to get the nature of your relationship. Do you guys have things where like, yo, you did XYZ in this interview, I think you should have, done P, Q, and R, right? Or do you what is that?
Sure. I mean, there are things that well, first of all, Eric is the driver behind a lot of Eric is so focused in a way that I'm not. And so I think that yes, we do complement each other, right? Like Eric does a lot of things that I have no interest in doing. Eric asks questions that I don't think to do. Eric is very good at just driving a conversation. Eric, I can rely on Eric to keep a conversation moving in ways that I just can't.
Interesting.
And so I think that plays a major role. I think that also, Eric does small things that I don't like. Like Eric loads the dishwasher in a way that
come on, man.
But it's just we're not the same person, and so
right.
Eric does things that are great, and there are things that Eric does that I don't really care for, but it doesn't. I'm not gonna ever stop him from being his true self.
Wow.
I think that's a fair thing.
That was here. That was here. What about you?
Oh, I wish you just left it. I wish you were just okay, great.
Because that was so good, but now I need some more flack. I'm trying to actually get the Twitterverse going a little bit here.
Oh no! I mean, there's not that.
That's really gonna happen during a quarantine.
There's so many people now who are just like, oh my god, how do you guys live together? It's like, man, none of this is new. We live together, we work, in the same space, at our home. Nothing's crazy about that. And there's always respect at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Jeff has his own time. I have my own time. When we play video games, it's Jeff can go, then I can go, then Jeff can go. And it's we both cook, we both keep the place clean. We watch a lot of the same, television. We're both watching Ozark. That works out, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, even in this, I think we're on day 17 in here or something like that, or 18. There hasn't been one argument.
Right. I think that...
Which, I mean, and that's not a normal thing where it's just we never argue. It's just but it's just the fact is that during these 18 days, we just have not argued. And I think it's just you put your priorities to the side where it's just or some of this stuff just doesn't matter.
Or it's you just understand that there's a greater good, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to say too that yes, we complement each other very well in terms of the podcast, certainly. I think that there's a dynamic there that you don't get from anybody else, that I'm able to bring one thing to the podcast, Jeff's able to bring another thing, then I can switch up, and we can both have laugh lines, we can both ask introspective questions, we can both, understand what we want to get from that guest, but also we want to make each other shine as well. So there's support there. And when it comes to our music, we both, I think, really enjoy surprising each other from the lyrics that we write or the ideas that we come up with. And it's fun working with each other and bouncing ideas off of and moving that forward. And even on a creative level concerning our merch, it's nice to design something and then send it to the other person and be like, oh, that's dope, and that should be turned into a t-shirt. Or hey, I was thinking of doing a mug, and this is the idea behind it. It's that's great. So Jeff is a supreme, a wonderful collaborator, but a supreme creative on his own. And, while I do editing, Jeff's doing the Photoshop stuff. So we both know our roles and work very well together. And, I think that I so appreciate, and I said this to Jeff a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, thanks for being on this ride with me. You know, like this doesn't work if we're not both doing this together. And sometimes you just got to say it. Sometimes you got to say it, and we just appreciate it either way.
Yo, that was like beautiful. Like I'm like, you know, like my brother's like 50 years old and I don't ever see him, and I'm like, damn, I need somebody, you know, I'm lonely.
Damn, man.
No, that's beautiful, and I think, you know, that's just going to continue to serve you guys more and more and more and more. And a lot of people don't have that relationship with their siblings, so that's even better. And you know, those responses, oh my God, you guys are media trained, and that was heartfelt. Like, goddamn.
That's not media training. No, that's a very real response.
And also, see, you listened to our 200th episode, which was just us and our story. We were talking to our friend Naomi Zeichner,
from the Fader, by the way,
formerly the Fader. Yeah. And you may have also checked out our episode with our mom, which was episode 250. And I think those two episodes, along with like the one that we had our brother Dan on this December, it gives you a good idea of who we are and how we were raised. And again, that's why none of this is surprising either. We've worked together in very creative circumstances for, well, Jeff's whole life, you know, and most of my whole life, because there is that 3.5 year difference. But like, you know, whether it's taking trash out, working at the Purchase Community House, or whether it's staying at Greg Mayo's studio, and, you know, until like whatever, 4:00 in the morning, making songs and then going to work at camp. Or if it's just like shooting a birthday video for our brother Dan, who at the time was living in Indiana.
Yeah.
All these things together, you know, keep going and moving forward. And today it's not anything to, you know, for Jeff to take out the trash, or for me to Swiffer something, or to, you know, Lysol everything down, or to just, you know, cook breakfast for both of us, or, you know, think to invite the other one to play video games. All of this stuff makes for a great environment, and I think that that's what we really excel at, and it's just natural at this point. So that's why I'm always like surprised when people are just like, oh yeah, no, I would never be able to live with my brother. It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, okay, I get it, guys. But like, what is the best way to load the dishwasher though? Like, come on, Jeff, holler at me.
that's surprising to me, because we haven't had that conversation.
Okay.
No, but it is a real thing.
No, like, what is your problem with this dishwasher and the way I load it now?
Nothing, but like the other one.
Yeah, see, that's what I was always weirded out.
Okay, what's up with the other one? What's going on?
No, it's that. Okay, so I would like load it a certain way, and Eric would rearrange
years ago.
it.
This is years ago. Also, if you want to get another argument going, it's like Jeff likes to. I like to talk a lot about the YouTube videos that I watch, which basically are like all car videos now. And Jeff's like, yeah, but how'd you get there? But no, and I'll be like, okay, cool, yeah, YouTube has an algorithm and it leads you down this road. Mm-hmm. But Jeff's like, yeah, but you watch lock picking videos, and I'm
which
like,
you did,
yeah, formerly, but I don't watch them now. Like, that's the crazy thing. Every interview that we give, Jeff's just like, hey, we did one last week, and Jeff's just like, by the way, ask Eric about the lock picking videos that he still checks out. I'm like, I haven't done. And Jeff's like, yes, you do. And I'm like, and then I can't, unlike this, I can't go on and explain myself because I'll look like a lunatic.
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course.
You look crazy right now.
I look so nuts.
You look crazy, especially when you're like picking locks and you know.
Yeah, I can't even finish the joke. That's how flimsy it is.
It's all good. Yo, we'll refine that. Listen, we'll link up. We'll refine it. We'll go through it. We'll write it out. It's all good. We'll put something together for your next hip hop sketch or something like that. By the way, sorry, you got something? I saw the idea.
So I came up with an idea 2 weeks ago, right before quarantine. Yep. And we were ready, honestly. I'm not going to tell you the idea because I still want to do it at some point. But I want to tell you, this idea was so genius. And
Eric was ready to hop on a plane to Miami.
That is a fact, to make it happen, right? And it would have gone viral. It would have actually been a significant.
I said they don't need us to actually be there. You could actually just tell them to shoot it.
I'm afraid that it would be stolen. That's fine. Anyway, more sketches to come and more excitement out of that. It did let me know in the moment that the mind is still fertile and we can still create.
Still fertile.
Yeah, okay. We can still create things. Mm-hmm.
I got it. Can I just say, by the way, you guys are probably the best at interrupting each other. You guys are so good. You guys start and then the other one picks off. It's like it's like a collective brain. It's crazy.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So within that, I think what we should really do is we got to find a way to get you guys out to different cities, you know, when this is all over, doing hip hop sketch comedy live on stage again. Like,
love it, man.
We're with fire.
Honestly, we were things that got canceled. We had a gig that was going to come up in Toronto. That was happening. We had a full week that we were going to do in Atlanta that got canceled. We had New York gigs that were canceled. So it's like, you know, there was something in London that we were working on. So it was a lot of activity. Hopefully, when this is all over, if it's all over, we can, you know, start doing that again. But in the meantime, we do understand that, like, this new reality calls for us to think in different ways. And I think you'll be seeing more of that in the next couple of weeks. We have some fun things that we're going to do online with our properties that we're excited about. And, you know, until we can get back live on stages again, I think that we'll still kill it from the safety and comfort of our own home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, but that's a lot of like where you guys shine as well. And like just
Thanks,
as a comic, right? And being up on stage, that dynamic is super fire. And I think like that's you guys are notorious, not notorious is the wrong word, but famous for pivoting and going to different mediums, very quick to podcasting, very quick to YouTube, very quick to whatever. And as I see the rise of comedy, like actually kind of through podcasting, which is crazy, I look at you guys and I'm like, I'm just thinking out loud, is like, oh man, that's a great lane to pivot to as well, because these guys are super, super good in that regard. And not to say that you aren't incredible in the interview style, but just seeing how you guys have pivoted, that looks like a beautiful next step. And, you know, we can call the promoters out here in Canada and get something popping too.
Well, that too. Yeah. And we were out in Vancouver at the end of December.
Right.
And we loved it out there. And by the way, found out that we have a pretty good fan base out there too, which is dope. Well, a lot of people, we got stopped in different stores or on the street and people were like, oh, it's the Real's here. We're like, yeah. And then a lot of people were mad that we didn't, you know, do something up there. So hopefully we can come back up to the Pacific Northwest and do something, Seattle, Vancouver, something else up there, and Portland or something.
Yeah. We went to like 3 different streetwear stores and I'm blanking on the names right now, but yeah, there were people who worked at like every single one of them who like fucked with us,
which is great.
Yeah, I think you guys popped by Dipped. Is that right, with Mr. Martini and all that?
We did go by Dipped. Yep.
Yeah. So that's family.
Yeah, there was one that was it was like 2 names, and I'm blanking on that, and it's like more high end.
But we were there.
Yeah, we were at all these different places.
Yeah.
Got it. It's all good. Yeah, man, for sure. I just think that's great for you guys. And when again, we'll wrap it up a little bit here, but I wanted to quickly go off you guys, and as an interviewer myself, I wanted to ask you guys selfishly, how do you construct an interview? Because I know that, yes, it's about humor. Yes, it's about different little things that other people don't know, but you have this way that is literally, it's trademarked in your way of doing it. What's your methodology as it pertains to that?
Thank you. It really depends per artist, right?
Every conversation's different. I would think that like we go in and you sort of do the arc of a person's life.
In general.
Yeah.
But if we have like someone who's a returning guest, I still think those episodes are dope, and we let the sort of atmosphere dictate everything. So when we had Cameron up here, someone we've known for a long time, we're still going to go through his life because I think that we can get something out of it that no one else has.
Yep.
But again, that's somebody we know. If we have Russ up here, we're still going to go through his life and see what that is. And he didn't know us from anybody else who was walking on the street. And so I do think there is something there that we can do ourselves. We try to do it like improv, where it's like, it's not a blueprint. You just allow them to
sort of just like listen to the conversation and you sort of let the things go like naturally. You just don't want the conversation to stop at any point.
That's a huge part of it. And again, make people feel comfortable. Another thing is that I think we try to use our own experiences and connect. So it's like, and you just ask a question in a way where it's like, I know that they'll have some experience that's a lot like an experience we had, and we could have grown up in 2 very different circumstances, but we'll all connect on that, and hopefully someone will at home too. And then I want to say too, for returning guests like Bun B or like Jinx, Brandon Jinx Jenkins, we want to have conversations that are not again, you already covered their life. Like, we don't have to do that again. So let's make it worthwhile and have it be a fun conversation or a meaningful conversation. And that also is just like, let's just surprise ourselves and see where this goes.
Yeah, I think the ones with like Jinx especially have just like taken us to some very like interesting places. Like with Jinx, you'll just like end up talking about what a creative mind looks like in 2020 and like very like deep things. But then you're also like laughing about, you know, a trip that we were all on going to Miami,
or whatever,
wherever.
And I think that
like I think that the answer to this question is you have to balance everything. Like it can't just be this dense conversation about like process, and it can't just be a light conversation that's about nothing.
Right.
It sort of has to be a mix of both.
And I think now, as you saw, we had to pivot considering the quarantine that we're all under right now, where we're not going to have guests over here. Okay, cool. So what do? You get the technology to be able to call people and, you know, make that sound really good. And so you do that. But those conversations, it's like, okay, yeah, you can do it as 20-minute bits. You could do it as like an hour-long bit. You could be 1 guest, 3 guests, whatever. What we've chosen to do is have 3 20-minute conversations. So that gives us a chance to reach out to people and enjoy each one of their perspectives. And those conversations are so different too. And I think we're finding a good rhythm in terms of like how you get something done in a smaller bit and make it worthwhile and have it, again, have that fun tone, have that serious tone, really get into like what a person is feeling right now, because people at home want to know that they're not alone.
So when you do those quarantine calls and you're doing them back to back to back like that, do you do that in post or do you like take a break in between?
No, we do
those
it.
are all straight up back to back.
Yeah, straight back to back.
And see, and that's what makes you guys so gangster is exactly that. You're like, all right, Kate, see ya, like Rory or Mall, like, hey, gotta go, bam, on to the next one.
Yeah, well, no, the gangster part is that we want to live our lives like as much as we can right now. So it's just like, oh, I don't want to sit around all day and wait for someone, you know, to be available. It's like, no, we're gonna record at 12:20, at 12:40, and 1 o'clock, and be available. So it's funny. Some people,
but if you're not around, then we'll find another day for you.
That's right.
Like, it's fine.
Yeah. But it's like
there's a zillion people out there, although it's getting considerably less because of this stupid thing. But like, yes,
I have video games to play. I have food to eat.
Yeah.
I have Ozark to watch.
Right.
We're recording at 12:20. So
Are you guys keeping to your 1 hour a day on the Nintendo? That's what I really got to know.
Mostly. Mostly.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, like,
wait, 1 hour at a time.
No, like,
so 2 hours collective?
No, it's gotten to be like
we're bending the rules. What is it?
I know. I really should be honest with our public out here.
I was in my room editing the other day, and I just hear Mario 2 in the background, like through my door,
you
and I was like,
motherfucker, we're already up.
No, I was just like,
well, Mario 2 is a one-person game, so it doesn't really matter.
Like, I respect that.
But that being said, yeah, I think it's really like an hour and a half. I think that we're still trying to like limit it.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've gotten really good at Mario 3. So
here we go.
Yeah.
Guys, in wrapping up here, like you now have this kind of collective following and it continues to grow every year. What advice are you giving to young content creators, podcasters, interviewers, even hip hop artists or whatever, anyone, like you've existed in so many lanes, whether you're writing or whatever, what advice are you giving to those people now because the landscape's changed so much?
I say don't do it because I don't need the competition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facts. See you guys later.
Yeah.
No, I think that there's never been more opportunity to do cool things, and I think that you should follow all of those things. I just think that if you're going to put something out, then you have to have a follow-up in whatever medium. You know, I think the rules of growing up and you had to do one thing and follow that one stream of creativity, I think that no longer applies. Like, you know, you have kids today who call themselves... I was looking... Okay, so I watched The Tiger King. And then I went down this whole rabbit hole, and I was looking at the social media account for the South Carolina Bhagavans like personal zoo, and I went down his social media account and his Instagram, and there were people who were tagged in it who were playing with the tigers, including designer and a bunch of like people who I could never give a shit about on like the other side of things. Anyway, all that to say is one of those people who I clicked on is a rapper, gymnast, like TikTok artist, like all these different like things. And I was just like, sure, like just be whatever you want to be, but just continue to do whatever that thing is.
Yeah, and I would say more specifically to content creators, create more. People need more now. I don't think it's a bad thing for you to create a lot of stuff to put it out because people will catch up. Lil Uzi Vert put out an album that's a whole bunch of tracks, and then the next week put out a deluxe version with more tracks, and people are not tired of that. I think that if you put out a podcast every week, it's time to do it more, but just make sure you do it. There's no wrong thing because
but I also think that like there does have to be thought put into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be care, and I think that there has to be it just can't be,
right.
You can't be chasing the same thing that everybody else is. You have to do different things than everybody else.
Yeah.
And whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. No, I love it. I love it. So you guys said before that it's about consistency, it's about quality, it's about caring. Obviously, you guys still adhere to those principles, but you've also been in this game for 13 years, and before that, or during that time, you're like, there's no end game in sight. We're just gonna go, 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 go. You're now 13 years down the line. What's the end game now?
Well, I don't know what the end game is.
I mean, an hour and a half for video games.
I know. I know what the next step is. The next step is to like create things that are not just revolving around us.
Yeah.
They're things that like other creators can still have like in our world, but don't have to be us sitting down editing it or us being in front of something. We want to do that stuff, but like there's got to be other things that can like spread left and right to make this thing continue.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. I love it. Thank you guys so much for the time. You guys are
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Just having that, some random guy hitting you up and being able to do that is absolutely fire. Speaks to, you guys are the epitome of authenticity and
Thanks,
you're true to yourselves in every room. So we appreciate that as fans, and thank you guys for taking the time, the 30 minutes. My bad, everybody.
All good. Thank you so much for everything, for the thoughtfulness, for the research, for the care, and to everybody out there. We're It's The Real. We do cool stuff. It's one word, no apostrophe, no spaces. Find us everywhere, and make sure to stay inside, wash your hands, be thoughtful, and let's
but also like make sure to make your bed smell good. Look good every day.
I showered today.
Yeah, great.
For you guys, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that.
Feels a little braggy, but it's okay.
Yeah. We appreciate you.
I wouldn't normally. I'm just kidding. Mostly for Kevin, you know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kevin, by the way.
Shout out to Kevin. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for the time, and continue to do everything you do, and I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Done. Cool. Yo, guys, thanks for checking out that episode. That was epic. Jeff, Eric, you guys are the man, as you already know. Listen, if you want to go check out all the references that we made, go check out our website, thinkspacepodcast.com/ItsTheReal. You can find everything there. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube. Go check everything out over there because we got the full video capabilities, and just seeing people's expressions and interactions. It's a different experience visually as well. So go check that out. And yeah, that was just a crazy convo. It was like a little bit surreal to me, and I got the nerves going and all that type of stuff. So that was fun. And yeah, thank those guys for coming on. Also, go follow their stuff. They got a new Patreon up. Go hit them up and support them. Go check out their back catalog is crazy, and just go show them love because it's important. Dope shit should win, and that's what really matters. And I also wanted to shout out as well. All of the small businesses, whether it's like gyms moving all their stuff online, whether it's, guys like Turf and Not a Grocery or whatever that are now doing, again, those deliveries and stuff like that, making that happen. Everyone that's out here running DoorDash, you guys are the real heroes out here, the skip the dishes, whatever. So all the little and small mid-sized businesses that are like finding a way through this period, we love you and we support you, and thank you for keeping us going, because you guys are what makes Vancouver, and that means a lot to us and the whole team. And if there's anything we can do, we're a DM away. So thank you guys for checking out this podcast. Stay home, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys next week.